So LinkedIn versus Facebook for B2B lead generation. Which one is the best for your exact situation? You know that there's potential in both of them. You've heard pros and cons of each, but you're not sure which one to go with. Well, you just want the most efficient method, and I'm going to help give you firstly the pros and cons of each platform so you can make an informed decision. But secondly, I'm going to give you a framework that's going to help you decide which platform to go with. Additionally, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to reveal a way more advanced growth hacking strategy that helps you use both in tandem, which is insanely powerful. So firstly, let's go through LinkedIn ads for B2B lead generation. What are the pros and cons? Well, the pros of LinkedIn ads are that you get high quality leads. LinkedIn is a platform whereby you can be insanely specific when it comes to B2B for targeting. So you can target specific industries, geographies, job titles, job skills, membership groups, seniorities, functions, etc., etc. And you don't have that ability on Facebook. So LinkedIn is really good at identifying high quality leads. Also, because you can be so specific, you make sure you're not wasting ad budget. As long as your targeting is on point, you know that all of the ad spend you're throwing at something, or at least a very large percentage of it, is going to the exact target audience you want to speak to. Additionally, a sort of passive bonus is that if someone is on LinkedIn, they already tend to be a little bit qualified. LinkedIn is a corporate platform, and the types of people who actively engage on LinkedIn and go to LinkedIn regularly tend to be more professional types. So yet again, the pro of LinkedIn is quality in terms of qualified leads. But unfortunately, there are some cons to LinkedIn. The main con to LinkedIn is it's way more expensive because you can be so specific. Additionally, because LinkedIn is a B2B platform, the average order value of deals tends to be a lot higher. So the market determines that the ad spend can be higher because basically everything works itself out. Also on LinkedIn, there are just less people using the platform than there are Facebook and Instagram. Now you could argue, well, those people are really specifically my target audience, so it doesn't matter. But that being said, there are people in your target audience who aren't on LinkedIn, but who would be on Facebook and Instagram. As a result of that, you can cap out on ad spend really quickly. What I mean by that is you might want to consistently scale. Right, we figured out a campaign that's going to work. Let's just pump more money into it. Simple. However, you might reach a cap whereby you can spend more, but you don't get any more result just because your whole target audience on that platform has been exhausted. What can often happen as a result of this is your target audience can get fatigued from your offers and for your ad creatives really quickly. Also, this is a pro and a con for LinkedIn, and one that most people don't really consider, and it's that learning isn't as big a deal as it is on Facebook. So Facebook's main pro, and we'll get onto this in a second, is machine learning. It's very, very good at that. LinkedIn, because you're so specific, when you launch a campaign, it doesn't have a noticeable learning phase. What you get to begin with is pretty consistent with what you're going to get for the duration of the campaign. Sometimes there's some minor improvements, but for the most part, because you're being so specific, there's not as much machine learning going on, whereby it just improves your results purely by running over time. So those are the pros and cons of LinkedIn. Let's move on to the pros and cons of Facebook. So the pros of Facebook is that you have machine learning, and what that does is you can set up an audience that's relatively broad, and provided your ad creative and copy speaks through a specific little niche of that broad audience, Facebook over time will learn this is the type of person that I need to display this ad in front of because they're the most likely to interact with the ad or convert on the ad. So that's a huge advantage to Facebook. Facebook over time does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of learning how to make your ads more effective. Another advantage of Facebook and Instagram is that you have a larger user base. So that fatigue that happens on LinkedIn, less likely to happen as quickly on Facebook. And lastly, Facebook is way cheaper than LinkedIn. As a result, you don't need as big budgets. It's not as sort of clenching to start a campaign and then see it go nowhere. But the cons for Facebook are, because you've got that learning phase, you might need to accept the fact that you're going to have to burn through cash so LinkedIn can go through that learning phase each time, and that can sometimes be painful. You can launch a campaign and it looks like it's not doing well, and you panic and go, oh my God, we've spent $200 and nothing's happened yet. Whereas in reality, you just need to sit there and wait and let it do its thing for a little while. So that can be a little bit daunting, whereas with LinkedIn, when you launch something, you can get results within like the next 30 minutes, really quick. Another massive con for Facebook is that the lead quality you get can be really low. Facebook can try and optimize you to get website visits or clicks. However, you can't be as specific with the types of people you're targeting. So on LinkedIn, you can say, I know for a fact that we can't speak to anyone who works at a company with any employee number less than 1,000. It just would never work. Facebook, it doesn't know that, and it just can't figure that out. And as a result of that, you can find that you're getting people, technically it's working from Facebook's perspective. You might be getting leads, website visits, conversions, but they're really unqualified because they just don't fit your target audience. They're just not the right type of person. So that's a huge disadvantage to Facebook. Basically, LinkedIn is lower quantity, higher quality. Facebook is higher quantity, lower quality. I'm impressed that I got that right. Now I'm about to jump into the framework that helps you decide which is best. You now understand the pros and cons. You might have already known that before, but the framework's coming. But before we get there, my company, Tech Growth Marketing, we are currently giving away free growth strategy sessions. So if you're working at a company, you're a marketing manager maybe, or maybe you're the founder of the company, you own the company, and you're looking to grow it through advertising, we spend all day, every day doing exactly that, and therefore we've learned a lot of things to avoid, things you should be doing, shouldn't be doing, and we're giving away growth strategy sessions whereby we'll listen to your exact situation, figure out if you're doing anything wrong, figure out where you need to get to, and we'll give you a strategy that gives you the shortcut to get there in the shortest time period. So you might think we're going to do X, Y, Z, you tell us that, and we're like, we've seen 50 other companies do that. It never works. Don't do that. You can skip and save yourself all that time just by speaking to us, and it's entirely free. And so I say us, you're speaking directly to me. I'm not palming you off to anyone else on my team. You are speaking directly to me on that call. You can apply via the link in the description below, but let's continue with the video. Let's get into the framework. So I have some notes here. Here's the framework you need to use when you're deciding whether you should go with Facebook or LinkedIn. The first thing is average order value. So if your average order value is below roughly £3,000 or dollars, you're going to really struggle on LinkedIn. It is possible to get away with lower average order values at roughly £1,500 or so. However, you will struggle. It'll be really hard to get that ROI. You won't have any margin for error. If you have lifetime average order values that are much higher, it's just your initial average order value is lower, then you can make it work. But just notice or note that average order values are a huge determining factor as to which platform you should choose. Low average order values and low lifetime average order values, LinkedIn is never going to work for you. No matter how good you are, no matter how good your campaign is or your ads, it's just not the right fit. The problem is your pricing strategy, not the platform. But if you figured out this pricing strategy works for our target audience, the chances are very high that Facebook is better for you than LinkedIn. Next up, if your target audience is really small business owners, say solo business owners or business owners of, I don't know, companies of like 10 or less, and that's pretty much exclusively everyone you want to talk to. It could be bigger, but it doesn't matter. The core audience is small businesses, then Facebook probably a better option for you than LinkedIn. The reason is, if your business size that you're targeting is really small, the interaction can kind of work in a similar way to B2C because you're speaking directly to the decision maker. They have all the buying power. They have direct access to the money. There won't be as many stakeholders or decision makers as there would be in larger companies. As a result, you can speak directly to that single person you need to speak to. So if you're talking to very small business owners, or it doesn't really matter the size, small is absolutely fine, then Facebook could potentially work for you. Additionally, if you have a very broad offer, great examples of this are things like Xero and QuickBooks. They're accountancy software. It doesn't matter what your business is, every business needs that. If, however, you had a piece of software that was very specifically for marketing agencies of a certain size, then you would want to go LinkedIn, because going on Facebook, probably too broad. And that is my next point. If your solution is broad, if it appeals to pretty much every sort of industry, and it doesn't really matter what industry they're in, it's a pain point that every business owner has, Facebook would be potentially a very good shout for you. But in that instance, both platforms could work. It would come back to average order values. Also, if your current problem is lead quality, then LinkedIn is probably your solution. So if you're already using Google PPC, you have SEO, you have content marketing, and you're getting leads, fantastic, but none of them are the right sorts of people, LinkedIn is your solution. That's where you need to go. And lastly, if you're looking to talk to very large companies, for example, you have an enterprise solution, LinkedIn is almost definitely the place you want to go. You do not want to be going to Facebook in that instance. The reason being, everything I've said before, the types of people on LinkedIn are more professional. You can be very specific with job roles. With LinkedIn, the framing is different from where you come from. It's called priming. The context of the situation matters. If you're approaching someone who works at a very large corporation, they're probably more corporate in the way that they act, and therefore they're more likely to interact with content that comes through LinkedIn in that way than they are to see something on Facebook and use it that way. Not to say there aren't methods that could use Facebook, but generally speaking, that's the case. So that lists all of the pros and cons, and we also went through a bit of a framework, so you can ask yourself some questions, and based on the answer to those questions, you should know where you need to go, Facebook or LinkedIn. If you still don't know, you're still confused, you can do one of two things. Firstly, you can drop a comment below just stating, I have this solution, which one should I go for? And I'll reply and let you know. Or my company Tech Growth Marketing is currently giving away growth strategy sessions. It's a one-on-one call with myself. So if there's any doubt and you just want to get some advice from an expert who does this all day, every day for loads of different companies, so I've seen this over and over again, you can apply via the link in the description below. The call is directly with myself. I don't palm you off to anyone else in the team. So now let's go into the growth hacks, the really advanced stuff. The reason I put this at the end of the video is because if you're still watching this, you're serious, and I don't want to give this information away to everyone. Basically, it's selfish. So, basically, the most advanced tactic you can have, in my personal opinion, for B2B lead generation is a hybrid model, right? So what you would do is, provided Facebook just doesn't win every question, you know, what you can do is you can have an awareness campaign that's top of funnel running on LinkedIn, whereby you are sending people to your website who you know is your ideal target audience, because you can be that specific with your targeting. So you're getting high quality traffic going to your website or to a landing page, specific landing page. But then you remarket to them using Facebook. You also remarket to them using LinkedIn, but that's where you bring Facebook in. Facebook slots in for consideration so that you become omnipresent, so that you're seen everywhere. At that point, you've broken the ties of just being on LinkedIn, and you are also using Facebook, and you become way more effective because of that omnipresence. Additionally, what you can do is, once you have that really high quality traffic going to your website, provided you have a high enough volume, and you would need to spend quite a lot on LinkedIn to get to that point, but if you have budget, fantastic, you then can create lookalike lists on Facebook based off of the information and the traffic you're getting from that high quality source. And that alone will make Facebook a far better platform in terms of lead quality. So that is the biggest growth hack you will find in terms of LinkedIn versus Facebook, and that's the reason I left it to the end of the video for you lovely people who are still watching. So that's everything. I really hope this video did help you. Any questions, as I say, comment below. If you want to apply for that free growth strategy session, you want to learn more about it, link in the description below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, obviously. And if you haven't liked already and this did help you, I would genuinely very much appreciate it if you at least considered leaving a like. Love you. So that's it. Hope you have a good day, and I'll speak soon.